Hello and welcome to the Film Focus Online podcast. I'm your host, Elliot Lines, and today we're stepping into the haunting, relentless world of Stephen King with a review of The Long Walk. Plus, we'll be delving further into the Stephen King universe with our favourite adaptations, what we've missed, and a deep cut into King's work from our guest. So without further ado, I'd like to welcome Film Focus Online writer Jack Ransom to the podcast. How are we doing?
I'm doing good. It's good to be back after I think last time I was on here was the Vault, the comic book movie one. That was around the time of Superman. So yeah,
Did you
about
lose?
months ago. I did lose, yeah. I lost. I picked the Suicide Squad and I got beaten by Kick-Ass. I lost that one.
Dan Bremner, the king of the vault at the minute.
Yeah, he's had 2 victories in a row. I'm beginning to think it's rigged.
I wasn't there for that one, so blame
That was
Alex for that.
solely Alex, yeah.
So, you a big Stephen King fan? What's your sort of connection with him?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Stephen King's work. He was the first, we were just talking about before we came on the recording, but I was a big fan of his books. Sort of that was my first introduction to proper reading
Yeah.
outside of comic books. And I was always more comic books and kind of stuff like that instead of proper books like novels,
hmm
fiction novels. But yeah, Stephen King, I think it was the first book of his I read, I think was either Misery or The Shining. Yeah, it was because I'd seen the films before I'd read the books, and I started reading the books, and then over the years I've grown quite a collection of his novels, some of which I still haven't got around to reading because he pumps them out constantly. But
Constantly writing
yeah,
that man, isn't he?
he's constantly writing, yeah. But my favorite novel of his, and one of my favorite novels is Christine, which I like more than the film. I think the film's solid, and we'll talk about that later.
hmm
But the book for me is like it's my favorite of his books, and I've grown to love his movies. Like a lot of his adaptations are some of my favorite films of all time, and I like how he's sort of crafted this universe naturally where there's references and interlinking
Yeah.
characters that cross over. It's like we kind of have the cinematic universe now, but he's been doing it in his books for quite a long time, and I'm always excited and anticipating whenever he has a new adaptation announced.
It's a strange kind of universe, isn't it? Because it's not obviously his books are intentionally connected, but the films never really are. You'll get this director doing this adaptation, another director coming in
Yeah,
here, this actor coming out, and it's kind of a bit all over the place. But like you said, you always anticipate a Stephen. It's always a draw, isn't it, when it's Stephen King
Stephen
adaptation
King.
on the
That's
screen?
it.
Yeah.
Especially even if it's like the ones that you don't hear about. And
hmm
going back to the interconnected nature of it, like a couple of them, like we've had three. I don't know if you've seen Misery, but
hmm
Annie Wilkes, the character that Kathy Bates plays, she has appeared 3 times, I believe, over TV and film. She's in obviously Misery. She's has a brief appearance. You like catch her name and miss it in The Monkey that came out earlier this
Oh,
year or last year.
really?
She's briefly mentioned, and also there was a TV series which I believe it's on Star or Star Play or something on Amazon Prime on those channels, but it's Castle Rock,
hmm
and that's sort of the hub of a lot of Stephen King connections, and she's also in that. And I believe Bill Skarsgård's in it, but he's not playing Pennywise. And obviously, at that point in time, he was most known for Pennywise. I'm not. He might be playing it, but I'm not entirely sure. But so there's sort of there are interconnections, and the Dark Tower movie, which most people have forgotten about. There is a lot of references scattered around. I think you see like Pennywise's balloons. There's either the
hmm
Room 237 door or 1408 door. Like there are like tidbits, but they've never sort of There's never been like a fully connected
Connected. It's
films where they're
such a
like such a
such a
vast
big sort of
universe
world, isn't there? So
and all
much
different
going on
genres as well.
that these directors that do come in to put on these adaptations can take from that book and take from there and take from all
Yeah,
over the place just to even just to please sort of fans like real Stephen King fans going, oh, I recognize that character from over there,
yeah.
which is cool. It's not like our normal interconnected universe that we're used to in cinema.
No, it's like you don't go into like The Life of Chuck that came out
hmm
a couple months ago, like thinking Pennywise is going to appear at the end, or oh, he's going to walk past Shawshank prison. It's not like
Yeah,
that kind of. It's normally kind of smaller characters,
small little
like
bits. Yeah.
even background characters from the novels that I've read. That you go, oh, they appeared, they happened to appear
Hmm.
in this novel, and it's sort of
Yeah.
it's much more like, and obviously a lot of his works are all set around the same sort of town area and in Maine, and yeah, it's a very subtle connections, but it's good for fans to kind of pick deep cuts and stuff like that as well.
So the latest adaptation we got then was released last Friday, which was The Long Walk,
Mm,
which was one of his books from 1979 under a pseudonym of Richard Bachman. This is set in sort of a dystopian world. Well, I would say dystopian world, sort of dystopian kind of future where
yeah,
it's the world is controlled by the army. Let's say there's rations, there's basically people can't do anything, and there's a yearly competition
I
where
believe so.
a teenager or a man from every single state has to walk, and if they stop walking, they get shot. As simple as that. And it's directed by the Hunger Games director. Is that right?
Francis Lawrence, yeah, I
Yeah.
believe his name is.
What?
Yeah, he's done. I don't think he did the first Hunger Games. Um, I don't think might have done. Should have done the research before, but he's done. Yeah, he's done the Hunger Games films and a few
He's done one
others.
of them, hasn't he? Yeah.
I think he's done the second one, the Mocking. Maybe he's done.
Yeah.
We should probably have looked before.
I should have this in my notes, but I don't. But anyway, it's very apt that this kind of film is being directed by someone that did that because it's sort of very similar idea to what that is.
Yeah.
What did you think of The Long Walk overall?
I thought it was fantastic. I hadn't read the book before. I really want to now.
Hmm?
I really knew nothing about it apart from when that first trailer dropped. I'd heard of it, but I didn't sort of know the details of the premise. And like I was really looking forward to. I when it comes to Stephen King, I'm a big fan of his horror stuff, but I also like his kind of more surrealist kind of and drama type things. So,
Hmm.
in all honesty, I was more looking forward to the life of Chuck, but it turned out that I thought that was while it was still good, I was a bit disappointed with it. However, this I had expectations for because it has a really solid cast and solid director, and the premise is right for a thriller. And
Yeah.
man, it is far more heavy and emotionally charged and character driven than I was expecting, as well as being just a very bleak and intense 105 minutes. I think it's an hour 45, and it's grueling, but in the intentionally like it's
Hmm.
intentionally grueling, and it will exhaust you watching these young
You feel
guys
like you're
having
on that
to.
walk with
You
them, don't
absolutely
you? The
do.
whole way through.
Yeah, especially with the mile count. So the sort of time
Hmm.
passes, and you see how many miles they're walking, and you see there's less and less of them as the miles roll by.
Hmm.
Some death you do see, and it's really nasty, and it's
It's
very much
brutal, absolutely brutal.
it's the high end of a 15. Like some of them, I mean, they're full
Hmm.
on executions. There's
Hmm.
like a really like wince-inducing shattered ankle, and
Hmm.
one character gets his legs completely obliterated as he slips in front of one of these. They're followed. Just to go more into premise, this is a televised event. They're
Hmm.
being
Yeah, yeah.
followed by tanks with cameras, so there are spectators watching them. It's sort of almost played like a sport event, and the whole premise is to sort of motivate people to help this economy that's suffering because the winner
Yeah.
wins one wish and millions and billions of dollars, more money than they
Yeah.
can possibly imagine.
They don't really dive into that either, do they? They don't say, "Oh, this." They just say, "You win riches and get your one wish,"
Yeah, it's
which is
very, and I kind of
interesting.
like that. It's very. It reminded me. I put in my review the actual, the sort you don't. It's very secretive with the background of how we
Yeah.
got to this stage and
Hmm.
what's really going on behind the scenes. And I don't know if you've seen V for Vendetta, but the it reminded me kind of like that because you hear tidbits of that certain art, certain music, certain films, and like expression is punished. So if you're
Hmm.
trying to preach that or share it, you're punished for it, which is very similar to V for Vendetta. Because so there's sort of any kind of art or expression is it's a no go. You're ruled under this sort of authority state. You see some like you see and hear about it, but it's much more focused on the characters. It's far more about what
Yeah.
they're going through in that moment. I mean, the bigger picture is brought into it, and which I have spoilers, which later on. But
Hmm.
it's much more. It's almost like I heard someone compare it. It's if without the gunshots and murder, it's kind of reminiscent to Stand By Me. And for
Yeah.
me, the central relationship between the two leads, Cooper Hoffman
Super
and
Hoffman.
is it David Johnson?
Yeah.
Both of them are fantastic, and their central relationship definitely reminded me of Andy and Red in The Shawshank Redemption at
Hmm.
times.
Yeah.
They
Yeah. I can
definitely
see
have
that.
that same kind of connection, and yeah, I just thought it was fantastic. I really like, and I went to the early screening of it, and it was in that
Hmm.
small screening rooms, and
Hmm.
everyone, it was about sort of 20 of us in there, and everyone was sort of completely locked in and
Zoned
like
in. Yeah.
gasped at certain moments. And you really felt like palpable tension,
Hmm.
like the build up of when someone. So you have to keep a certain mile. I think you have to keep above 3 miles an hour.
3 miles an
So
hour.
three
Yeah.
miles an hour, and like if you stop, like so, you got to go to the toilet. You got to stop to
Yeah.
stretch. You got to,
There's some interesting moments where they need to go to the
yeah,
toilet.
yeah. Turds are punishable by death, but yeah, it's really gnarly is the word I'd use for it because
Hmm.
it really there's no remorse. Like it's that first kill and it's like, oh, it immediately sets the tone.
Hmm.
It does a similar thing to a trailer. Like they form a brotherly bond, some of them, but it's like only one of you wins this, so at
Right.
some
Yeah.
point you are
Yeah.
gonna have to
But they're
turn
quite
against each
open
other.
about that throughout the film in
Yeah,
their relationship. They know that only one of them's getting out alive, and I like the fact that they dive straight into this. Like you said, you see one of the kills quite early on, so you know the precedents
the
from
stakes are set
day dot.
quickly.
I like the fact that you are constantly with those characters. You don't see any of this televised stuff. You don't see any characters outside of the walk.
Yeah,
And from that first trailer, you know, I was desperate to go and see this. And you said you saw it in a small screen with 20 odd people. We know
yeah,
what cinema's like these days. I went on a Friday evening on opening
yeah.
day. Cinema was packed. I was expecting, you
Always a
see
risk.
occasional walks out, you see people on their
Yeah.
phones. None of that. Whole screen
No,
was fully locked in. Full
that's
full
it.
house, fully locked in.
And it's getting really good reviews, and it
Hmm.
demands that attention very quickly. It gets you straight into it. He's in the car with his mum, played by Judy Greer, who's really good.
Yeah.
And it's just you are straight on this walk. Mark Hamill is an absolute menace, which again, and also like to mention in my review, this is the second Mark Hamill appearance in a Stephen King film this year because he's in The Life of Chuck as well,
Oh, is
playing
he?
playing a very different character. He's not really. You hear him more in this. He's over like the
Yeah,
megaphone, but
you don't see much of him. He doesn't do much. He stands on the back of a car.
he stands in the back of the car, like barking sort of orders and say encouragement, but but he's got this real. It's not like his Joker where it's like cackling kind of over the top. It's just this really low, commanding,
Yeah,
dead
it's
tone voice, and
it's someone that's
he's
been in the
behind.
army his whole
Yeah,
life.
he's behind sunglasses as well, so you can never see his eyes, and it's like a great sort of looming presence performance. But really, it centers on Cooper Hoffman, Dave Johnson. Both of, I
Hmm.
mean, Dave Johnson. He's been, I don't know if you've seen Rye Lane, but I believe he was in that, and that was
No, I haven't,
fantastic.
but he really impressed me in Alien Romulus.
Alien Romulus,
I
he
thought
was
he was
great
fan.
as Andy,
I loved that film, and when I saw that and saw his performance in that, anything that he's in now, you know,
straight there.
I'm straight in there. His performance in this was very different to that. Obviously, he was very robotic. in
He's like this
um,
real
Early Romulus.
optimist in this film. He's
Yeah,
like glass half full, even though, and he like encourages everyone. He's constantly checking to see how they are, how
he's
like,
trying to get people through it, which is mad considering they're all
there
in
for
it there
themselves.
for themselves. Well, essentially meant to be there for themselves, but he's obviously there for different reasons. They all have
Yeah,
their reasons, as we sort of find out throughout the
as
film,
it goes along.
the different reasons. It's just a very interesting dynamic to be put in that situation because they do
Mm,
create a bond. There's the four of them that create a real good bond, and there's a few outsiders that try to sort
yeah.
of get in here and there. Um,
So I've got
it's
the
just a
cast list here for them. So there's
yeah.
the main four. You've got Cooper Hoffman, David
Hmm.
Johnson, then it's Tut Nyut and Ben Wang, who I
Yep.
realised afterwards is the new Karate Kid. He plays the new Karate
Ah,
Kid. I thought I recognised him. So they're sort
well,
of
maybe
like the
yeah,
four main kind of who form Bond. But then you've got Charlie Plummer, who is like this really nasty piece of work, who's like constantly trying
is
to antagonize.
he the one with the long hair, the one that
Yeah, the one who
stop
accidentally
accidentally
gets,
kills someone?
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. And then you've got Garrett Waring, who is won't spoil. There's a thing with his character
yeah,
that you find out towards the end of the film,
yeah.
but he's
He's
like
the
this
one that
kind
you
of
look at. That's
he's
he's quite
the
buff. He's
physically, yeah, he's the physically the
physically there. Yeah,
strongest. But he has like it's kind of dark. Also, I have to say it's very bleak and heavy, but there are darkly comedic moments in it. Like the banter
yeah,
between them, it's kind of jovial and it's like foul mouthed and kind of they try and keep their spirits up. There's a really
yeah,
and his who I just mentioned there has a very, as he mentioned, he's been like keeping himself in peak physical condition. And this
yeah.
is like the one time his won't say how, but his body lets him down. But yeah, it's like these moments of dark comedy that kind of lighten the load a little bit. But anytime that gunshot goes off, or you hear the
Hmm.
tannoy speakers going warning, warning, you have 3 seconds to comply, kind of thing. It's like,
And it's quite often as well that happens.
yeah, you
That
don't. It's not spared, no.
it's like number 37 warning, number 28 warning. It's literally like,
Yeah,
and then you
they're
get
like,
a gun to your head while you're taking a shit.
and there's that one moment where he's just like pulling it. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's really intense. And obviously, there's like certain rules that you find out along the way. So they get unlimited water, but they have to
Hmm.
ration the food.
Hmm.
Um, and if you step off the road, you get immediately shot. You're not allowed to interact with anyone on the outside because you get shot. Um, So it's this real kind of,
Is that a rule? Is
yeah.
it?
It's
Was that a
I
rule?
think as he yeah, 'cause when he goes to run to his mum. No, you can interact with them. Sorry, but you
You can
can't run off
interact.
the road. Yeah,
You can't
because
come off the road. Yeah.
they're swearing
Yeah.
and cursing out people watching them on the way. That being said, and I was talking to someone at work actually earlier about this who'd read the book, and it was quite interesting because he
Hmm.
said that like I don't know the ending of the book, so I told him not to tell me. But
Hmm.
apparently, the ending of the book is quite a bit different to what the
Right. Okay.
film has. And he
Well,
also said there's. Oh, sorry, Carol.
I was going to ask you that. How did you? I wouldn't say spoil. Well, let's say a little bit of spoilers now, but how would you interpret that ending at the end?
I think it's interesting because it's open ended
Hmm.
in a way, which it's quite refreshing. 'Cause you don't normally get that as
Yeah.
much anymore. So I just want to let the audience decide. Are we? Should we
Yeah.
say
Let's
full
go into
spoilers? Yeah.
spoilers. Yeah.
If you're up to this point and you haven't seen it, go and watch it. It's really good. So in the end, Dave Johnson's character he wins
Hmm.
wins the long walk. He is the last man standing, and you learn that throughout the film that Cooper Hoffman's character's father was killed by Mark Hamill's general,
Yeah. You see a
and his
flashback,
one
don't
wish
we?
you see it in the flashback, yeah, and his wish is for a assault rifle which he will get given, and immediately he wants to shoot the general and just
Mhm.
show people that the
Things can
it's not
change.
you're not powerless. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And this happens at the end. So Cooper Hoffman he sacrifices himself to let David Johnson win, David Johnson, who's been so anti-violence, he's telling him like,
Hmm.
if you do this, you'll corrupt yourself. You're no better than the bad guys. He asks for the assault rifle, kills the general. And at this point, which I mentioned, which I was going to mention is at this point in the city towards the end, there's a huge crowd of
Hmm.
people waiting because they know this is the end of
Fireworks
the war.
and
Fireworks
fireworks
go
and all
off. There's a
sorts. Yeah.
winner. It's a big celebration, and he's like completely broken. Asks for an assault rifle, and then Mark Hamill's general's like, "You don't need to do this. Don't do this." And
Hmm.
he does it,
She's
and then he sort
yeah.
of puts the gun and walks off.
But
Um,
that's the thing.
but
He
yeah,
kind of
it's
walks off into the rain, doesn't he? Carries on
into
walking
the
off into the distance, but
yeah.
there's no crowd there.
No.
So it's either obviously he's been shot, or there is something about David Johnson's character where he mentions about um he's always been on the move. He's always been walking
Yeah.
through life. He's done so it's either, he got his wish, or he got
Because his wish wasn't
Cooper
his wish.
Hoffman's wish.
He wanted somewhere to like belong.
Yes.
Yeah. And he obviously, overcome by grief and anger,
Hmm.
decided to take Cooper Hoffman's last wish, which was to kill the general for a
Yeah.
personal vendetta. And
Hmm.
it's a yeah, it's a striking ending, and especially because you've seen. This is what I was going to mention when my colleague at work was telling me about the book. Apparently, in
Hmm.
the book, there's far more. They interact with people along the way far more. Apparently, there's far more spectators involved.
Okay, yeah, because you
Whereas
didn't see
in
that
this,
many.
there's barely any, and it's mainly like the occasional person that they'll swear at, and there's like one family, I think, like watching, and then obviously his
Yeah, yeah.
mum appears, like shouting. But apart from that, it's vast, empty kind of countryside roads, really.
They do sort of mention that at the start, that there's not a lot of spectators
Yeah,
throughout the event, but towards the end, people will start to gather, and
all
the
gather.
general will allow people to gather, kind of
Yeah,
thing. But yeah, I think overall, I thought it was fantastic as well. Just like you, I think really could have gone wrong. One, just concentrating on a few characters throughout,
yeah.
it could have got boring quite quickly.
Yeah, and
Let's
I
be
think
honest.
that's the thing. It's the premise. I mean, because you are watching, you are essentially watching people walking and talking with the
Yeah,
occasional, murder.
yeah.
But it's so well written, and the
Hmm.
performances are so captivating that you can't help but be kind of just you are
It's en-
there the whole way with
it's
them,
engaging, isn't it?
and
Very
it's just
engaging.
so engaging. And it was like, I mean, I was looking forward to it. I thought the trailer was excellent,
Hmm.
but I wasn't hyped for it. I wasn't like, I've got to be there day one. I was going to
Hmm.
watch it, of course. At that early screening and seeing the reviews for it, and people are agreeing. It's fantastic. It is one of the best King adaptations.
Hmm.
Since some of the classics.
The
It's
classics.
brilliant. It's really yeah. It's yeah. I As I say,
Absolutely.
yeah. Just go watch it.
I think
Yeah.
I was very similar. I liked the look of the trailer, but I wasn't that. I wasn't like, right, I need to go opening weekend. Read your review. You gave it 4.5
Four and a
stars,
half, yeah. Yeah, four and a
and
half.
after that, I was like, right, I need. I was interested in it, but that sort of made me
Go
want to
push.
go and see it day one. And I think I'm with you about 4.5 stars. We'll see in a minute, but it's up there with some of my favourites,
Yeah, absolutely.
which is great. So, shall we move on then from The Long Walk and move into some of our favourite Stephen King adaptations?
Yeah.
Do you want to start us off with one of yours?
Yeah, sure. Are we doing top three? Did you say? Are we doing
So we're
top
going,
three?
yes, so we're going top three. Sorry, we're going top three. We don't need to go in any particular order,
Okay.
but if you just want to fire away, we haven't discussed this, so we might have
This is
some of the
off the
same ones in
We
there.
might have a couple. I think one would probably definitely but yeah,
One of them
there's
is my favourite film of all time, so
one of them's also up there in my I think we're both on the others. I think we both know that. But so
go on
I'll
then,
do them
fire
in
away.
order. I'll do them in order. Third, and this may be controversial for some people, but My
Mhm.
third favorite of his adaptations is Doctor Sleep from
Okay.
2019, the
Yeah.
sequel to The Shining,
Mhm.
directed by Mike Flanagan, who obviously is an absolute like King fanatic
Yeah.
himself. This was, I mean, and spoilers for one of my other favorite Stephen King films, but this
We're in
was one of
spoiler
my
territory now.
but this was one of my most like anticipated like film releases. I mean, 2019 was a banger
Okay,
year
yeah.
for films anyway, but
Mhm.
this was like up there with one of my most anticipated. As a huge fan of The Shining and
Mhm.
Mike Flanagan at that point, this was like a perfect concoction. Great cast. You got Ewan McGregor, you got Rebecca Ferguson. An absolute. I know some people have their criticisms, like yeah, it's a slow burn. It's very much in the King zone more than like a more Kubrick. Like it's inspired by
Mhm.
Kubrick and the iconography it takes, obviously, because that's the most. When people think The Shining, they think of that film,
Yeah.
but the tone of it and the slow burn and the weirdness, it's very much Stephen King, and I love the way it looks. The performances are fantastic. Rebecca Ferguson's Rose the Hat is a absolute like all-timer Stephen King
Yeah,
villain.
I remember her sort of from the trailers.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Dog Sleep, but I remember her quite
Oh,
vividly
highly
from the
recommend it.
trailers.
Yeah. And like it's a as a fan of The Shining, that finale where he goes to the return Danny returns to the Overlook is like,
Mhm.
oh, it's amazing. They like recreated it perfectly, all the
Mhm.
dimensions and stuff. There's the Easter eggs and stuff like that. And I've watched it. I saw it twice at the cinema, and I saw it. I've got because there's the extended cut of it, which they
Mhm.
released on Blu-ray, which is like 3 hours long. Which for me, I was like, yes, even more of it. Um, I love it. If it comes back, I really want to do at some point a double bill at the cinema of The Shining into
Mhm.
that. But yeah, so Doctor Sleep is one of my favorites.
It's on my list. I came to The Shining very late.
Yeah.
2 years ago was the first time I watched The Shining.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, I up until the last 3 or 4 years, maybe, I was never really sort of a horror
Mm.
watcher. I tried to sort of push myself a bit more, and obviously, The Shining is one of the greats. And I have to say, stunning movie, but I didn't quite click with it the way
Yeah.
that I think a lot of people do. That's probably why I haven't jumped into Doctor Sleep, but it is on my list of ones to catch up on because it's just that completionist of trying to
Yeah.
you've watched the one, you want to sort of
Do the
see the
sequel,
next
yeah.
part. So yeah, it's definitely on this for me. So my number three is Misery,
Oh, brilliant.
directed by Rob Reiner. I watched this probably about 10 years ago now, maybe.
Mm.
Haven't actually revisited it since, but it's stuck with me. I think Kathy Bates, obviously Oscar winner for
Yeah.
that performance.
She's,
Her
yeah,
performance in
amazing
that
in that.
is absolutely terrifying. And again, it's in a small confined space. That the axe the axe to the ankle
The
will
hammer,
always
the
there's hammer to
hammer
the
of,
ankle will always. I just feel this a sort of masterclass in psychological horror,
mm,
and
like,
that those smaller, intimate stories can just be as powerful as some of his bigger,
yeah,
you know,
absolutely. The tension
bigger ones.
building in that film is like on another level. I love it when he's been out and around in the wheelchair and he slightly has moved one of her china dolls. And as soon as she
Yeah,
comes in, that's when she notices it. And like, I love her transformation in real time when she's reading the book, and she's
yeah,
like, "When Misery's dead," like it's amazing. That finale where they're like beating the crap out of each other, and he's like shoving the
yeah,
pages in her mouth. It's nuts. But it's I mean she's incredible in that. James Caan obviously is brilliant as
yeah.
well. And it's this you're really isolated in this cabin in the middle of nowhere in the winter, and
Hmm.
it's yeah, I love Misery. It's due a rewatch. I think it's
Yeah,
Halloween
I think I'm going to get
horror
back to it
season.
as
It's due a
well.
rewatch.
Yeah,
I'd love
definitely.
to see it at the cinema. That's another one I want to see at the cinema at some point.
I think you need to buy a cinema and you can do a Stephen
That's the
King.
dream. That's the lottery dream. as the Laurie dream, I'd just be at the Prince Charles Cinema all the time.
So, what is your number two then?
My number two is The Shining, which for a while was my favorite film of all time.
Hmm.
And it was the film that funnily enough, I vividly, a little bit of a history, I vividly remember buying that Misery and A Nightmare on Elm Street and Halloween all at the
Hmm.
same time in like London in HMV when I was about 13. It was when my parents were kind of like, oh, you can watch these now, like the older ones. And I remember going in there, and it was like when HMV did their 2 for 10s, and I had like 20 quid. So I was like
Hmm.
grabbing Misery, and grabbing The
That,
Shining, Elm
yeah.
Street, and Halloween. And that was like my introduction both to Misery and The Shining. And The Shining, and a bit like you, when I first watched it, I was probably too young to kind of
Okay.
fully take it all in.
Hmm.
But then as I've got older and rewatched it, it's just I just think I know Stephen King doesn't like it, but I
Famously.
think, yeah, I think for me it's I mean what can be said about it that hasn't necessarily I mean Jack Nicholson is crazy, Shelley Duvall is like a woman like fully pushed to the edge, not just by the material but by Kubrick as
Just a little
well.
bit.
Like yeah, the film, the score is amazing. I just
Yeah.
wanna
No,
like
yeah, I can
anytime
agree with that.
like just have that boom, boom. Like the cinematography, the look of the hotel is so eerie. I love that shot of just him walking down the corridor and then just turning into the party and he's at the
Hmm.
bar. And it's just anything like that where it's like trips the line of reality and fantasy. And I love how cryptic still what has actually gone on in the hotel. It's
Yeah.
just like constantly. It's one of those films where I rewatch it, I notice more things each time. And I mean, I've seen it 4 or 5 times now. I've seen it sort of cinema a few years ago, and like it's an all timer for a reason. I know it's cliche to say that it's one of the best horror films of all time, but it is for a reason. And for a while, it was my favorite film. I couldn't get enough of it, and it's still fantastic now. But I think um, the film next for me is slightly overtakes it. But it's one of those ones where I can give or take.
Okay.
Both of them are fantastic, but The Shining is yeah, it's mine. It's brilliant.
So my number two, we've talked about this quite a lot already. It's actually The Long Walk.
Oh wow.
I really like we've we've spoken 20, 25 minutes about it, but do you know what? There was not one moment that I've found myself not engaged, that I didn't find myself bored at any time. I kind of, like we said, I kind of expected there to be lulls, maybe, but
Yeah,
I think the character work was good. I think all the characters were engaging for a film that's just focusing on a small amount of people for nearly 2 hours, and you're
yeah,
just watching people walk. Like you said, you're
yeah,
just you're watching people walk. At the end of the day, it's it's showing human suffering and what people will go through to what they will endure to get out of the situation they're in. And I think it's just a very, very good representation of that. And yeah, I love.
completely agree. It's like I didn't expect it to be as high up on my ranking as well. Like it's currently, I've got it as fifth of my
Mhm.
favorite. Fourth is Misery. Then probably flicked between The Long Walk and Stand by Me. Um,
Yeah,
but yeah, I think it's brilliant. Like, and we've said it a lot on this already, but I don't think either of us expected it to be as good
no,
as I don't think a lot of people did, judging by the response to it. And it's great to see that it's doing well and
yeah,
getting praise. And and it shows like there are these with the amount of Stephen King adaptations that come out. Most of them, they're good or they're fun. But it's good to have a really like solid. Oh, this is fantastic. Kind of one of the
there's a lot
best
of
adaptations
there's a
of
lot
his work.
of crap in the 82 adaptations that there's been.
Yeah, yeah, there is a lot of stuff. I mean, most of which, I mean, I will, but like a lot of which I have not got around to, because I've heard they are it is crap. But this one was, yeah, what brilliant, and I completely agree with you.
So take us on to your number one then.
I think we're probably going to have the same one here, but it's The Shawshank Redemption,
Yeah,
which
100%.
is just like you said, one of it could easily be my favorite film of all time. It's up there as one of them.
It is mine and has been for a long. My favorite number one to watch changes very often, but if someone
Yeah.
asks me what my number one is, this will always be it.
Oh, see, I would have gone for Jurassic Park. I thought that would be your. I thought that would be.
It's it's one of my favorite rewatches. Yeah,
Yeah,
if someone sort of asks me,
favorite all
you know,
time.
I feel like I can jump in at any moment. If it's on TV and it's
Yeah,
two-thirds of the way through, I'll watch it. If it's a
finish it
third of the
off.
way
Yeah.
through, I'll watch it.
Oh, it's perfect.
It's
And what it's like The Shining. What can be said? Like, just the perfect story of hope, friendship, the justice system, everything about that. I was listening to a really good podcast on it actually recently.
mm,
How did this get made? It's a good podcast, and it's just and I love the fact that, and they talk about Morgan Freeman, how he was just so casual, yet he gives this amazing performance as Red, and so I mean, and Tim Robbins as Andy Dufresne is one of the
yeah.
best kind of good guy. It's good guy characters. It's a film. I mean, and the ending. I don't know if you're the same, but there are a couple of moments that will always choke me up
Mm,
in that film. And Brooks was here.
yeah,
The
yeah, yeah.
ending of the film when they find each other on the
Find them meet
island.
each
It's
other again
just
on the beach. That moment he crawls out of the sewer and is
yeah, and
finally
obviously the
sort of
iconic shot
free,
of him in the rain.
his arms out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just perfect. And Roger Deakins shot the film, and it looks
Hmm.
fantastic. The score's great in it. All the performances. I love the set, and you really fit into it's weird to say, but you really
Hmm.
fit into the lifestyle, and you see all the
Yeah.
different facets of it. You've got the horrific warden. You got Clancy Brown as this ruthless security
Yeah.
guard. It's they're a great cast of characters, and it's just perfect. And it's one like I can put it on whenever, and when it's been the same with The Shining. I always think when it's been like over a year or so, when I've watched, I'm like, all right, it's time to rewatch this.
Time for a rewatch.
Some
Yeah,
I
I probably revisit every other year. I would have thought. It's
yeah
what it's nearly 3 hours. But I
yeah. I think
don't
it's like two
feel like.
hours 30 or 40.
Yeah, I
Doesn't
don't
feel it
feel
at
like it
all.
ever drags.
No,
Almost you can almost cut it up into sections, which is quite nice for a film like that. That you can sort of jump in and you don't feel like you need to watch it from the start. You can kind of just go in at any point and just pick
yeah
up from where they're at. The moments for me when he plays the music through the
yeah through
speaker,
the megaphone. Yeah,
when he gets the beers for all the guys working on the
on the
roof.
roof. Yeah,
This guy he's so out of place in this prison, surrounded by murderers and thieves and something
all these. Yeah,
yet he's so impactful to them all in the
aspires
end.
hope in them, and
Yeah,
that's what Stephen King and that's why like, most people think for a horror, but he's done a lot of works that are about hope and goodness in people, even with elements of darkness, like
yeah.
Stand by Me, The Green Mile, like, and even just Life of Chuck, like recently, it all centers. It's always centering on one person that affects others, and and in a positive light in this instance, not like Pennywise.
Hmm.
But like, it's and people, think Stephen King, they think it, The Shining, Carrie, but his dramas and more sort of human stories like The Shawshank, they're brilliant, and there's a reason why this is like the highest rated film on IMDb, or people was like, it's the greatest film of all time.
I was going to say, is it? It still is the highest
It's
rated on
still,
IMDb.
yeah,
I'm
I think
guessing.
it's like 9.4 or 5. And it deserves it because it's like on Letterboxd, it's all the 5 stars.
I
It's
think
just perfect.
any anyone can watch it and enjoy it. I
Exactly.
think
For me,
that's
it's
what
one of those. Yeah,
it's
it's for
accessible to
everyone.
all. It's not,
Yeah.
it's not a horror, it's not a drama. It's kind of
I think when
everything
you
sort of
hit a certain
mixes in.
age, like, yeah, I think I was probably around the same time. I was really sort of 13, 14, maybe I watched it.
Hmm.
And, that's kind of like, I'd say any younger than that, maybe it's not going to hit as much. But as you get older, especially, and you
Yeah,
sort of hits harder in certain points. And it's just, yeah, it's one for everyone from a certain age onwards.
definitely.
I completely agree.
So, what then? Just give us a couple of King's adaptations that you would like to visit next.
So I've got a couple that are on my list to get round to. Some of which I know are probably going to be naff,
Hmm.
but I'll still be watching them anyway, for the completionist angle. So there's one that gets forgotten about quite often, and that's Pet Cemetery 2. So you had the
Okay,
original Pet Cemetery
right.
in the 80s. Then there was the Pet Cemetery 2, which stars Edward Furlong. I
Okay,
believe it's pre-Terminator 2. It's definitely, I think it's pre-American
okay.
History X. So that's one I want to check out at some point. I
What's
quite
that
like.
rating like?
I'll have a quick look. Probably not great.
Because
Hold on.
they had a, was it remake here recently?
2018. I quite like 2019. You're right. So yeah, 2019. I thought it was fine,
I thought
and
it
then
was
they
okay.
did.
Yeah, I thought it was okay.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. And then last year, I don't know if you know it exists, but there was a sequel to that one called Pet Cemetery Bloodlines, which went straight
Oh,
to
yeah,
Paramount
yeah,
Plus. That
yeah, yeah.
was that starred David Duchovny. This Pet Cemetery 1992, so it was just around Terminator 2
Hmm.
time for Edward Furlong. It's got a 2.6 out of 5 average on Letterboxd, so it's going to be average. But other King ones that are on my list, so I'm just going to get my list up here. So it'd be yeah, Pet Cemetery 2. Some of his TV ones I want to see. They're quite. I mean,
Hmm.
if people are listening to this, you're probably not going to recognize any of these. But there's Rose Red, which was a TV miniseries. He had a lot of TV miniseries. The
Right.
Langoliers, which is another TV miniseries. Sometimes they come back. These are all like TV movies that I want to get into at some point. They're one of those ones where they're really tricky to find, but they're like dirt cheap when you do find them. They're
Yeah.
not particularly well reviewed. There is one that is a cult favorite that I think I've got the name of it here, which I do want to watch. Yeah, Sleepwalkers, which has got like a collector's Blu-ray edition where it's about those who are able to stay alive by feeding on life forces of the innocent, and it's kind of like got good, goofy, over-the-top practical
Hmm.
effects. And there's also, sorry, probably the last main weird one of his works that I want to see is The Mangler, which stars Robert Englund, who obviously played Freddy Krueger, which is about a killer mangler, the
Okay.
machine, which I'm sure is going to be a masterpiece. Um, but yeah, those are sort of like the deep cut, weird ones that I know are probably going to be naff that I want to
Hmm.
see. I haven't seen the remake of Carrie starring Chloe Moretz, which
Hmm.
I've heard is not great, but I do want to see that at some point. And because there's the TV series coming out next year by Mike Flanagan,
Right.
and I like the original. The original was solid, Brian De Palma movie, and yeah, those are probably like the. But there's loads of like there's trucks, there's graveyard shift, like all these kind of. There's so many of them, and they're all on my list. God knows when. To be honest with you,
You bet.
probably
You better quit your job. I think you need
I
to
think
become
so.
a
Yeah, I
Stephen King enthusiast.
quit my job, lose my flat, just spend all my time watching Stephen King movies that are going to be terrible. But yes, there's a few there that are on my list. I've seen most of them. I've seen the main ones. So
Main
now
ones.
I'm sort of digging through the
The
ones that have
depths.
not hit like
Yeah.
double figures on Letterboxd.
So I'm quite interested in watching The Stand
Oh,
in
so there's two.
1994.
Yeah, and there's a
There is
recent
another one
TV show.
more. there's a more recent one. Was it a TV show or was
Yeah,
there
on Amazon.
um, some quite interesting? I very much like my dystopian world
Yeah.
films. I've had a year of just watching
Setting the
films.
tone of the year. Bleak
Um,
dystopian futures.
so that one interests me. Another one that interests me is another one that actually got made into a TV show recently, and I think I started watching the TV show, but I
Right.
didn't jump into it. But that's 11/22/63
Oh,
with
the
James
James
Franco.
Franco one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen that. That
Um,
was good. That was good, despite him not being a nice person. It turns out.
no.
He
Um, but that sort of
good.
going back in time and with history,
Yeah,
it's to prevent the Kennedy assassinations.
yeah, that's a good
That's
one. Give them a watch.
so start. I did start watching the TV show, and I don't remember why I stopped, but maybe it's something to revisit another time. So yeah, they're two that are sort of on my radar. One that is definitely on my radar that's upcoming is The Running Man.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, Glenn Powell,
Um,
Edgar Wright.
I really like the look of that trailer. I
I think
I
it
think
looks
it,
a blast.
although I'm not allowed. I don't think I'm allowed to say too much about this, but I have heard there's been a few reshoots, but which is a little bit
Okay.
worrying. But we,
We'll
I
see
might have to cut that
we'll
out.
see in a couple of months. Yeah, 14th of November, I think that is. I'm not
Yeah,
the biggest fan of the Arnie one. I think it's fine.
right.
Yeah. But this looks like an absolute riot. I mean, Edgar Wright behind the camera with his kind of energy and the
Yeah,
soundtrack and the
I
cast,
really
is
like
I
Glenn
think it's gonna
Powell
be
as
good
well.
fun.
I think he
Yeah,
can
he's really
carry a
charming.
film. He's at that
Yeah.
point where he can carry a film now,
Oh, absolutely.
which is
Yeah.
good. Okay then. So, do you just want to give us a quick deep cut on ones on Stephen King adaptations that people may not have on their radar that they probably
Yeah.
should?
So I've
Go
got
for it.
three or four that came to mind for this. I was thinking about the first one for me is one of my again in the top tier of my adaptations of his 1408, starring John
Okay.
Cusack and Samuel Jackson. It ticks a lot of the King traits. It's about a writer who's fed up and who's had family tragedy, and he writes horror. He investigates like hauntings and horror hotels and accommodation and writes about them and like
Yeah.
disproves or proves that they're real. And he goes to room 1408, which Samuel Jackson says is an evil fucking room. And he spends time
In
in there
Samuel
and
L. Jackson style.
in Samuel Jackson style, and basically begins to lose his mind and the grip on reality. There's some really trippy, in-your-face imagery on it, and
Hmm.
I think it's really underrated. It's one that I've rewatched a few times. It was yeah, it's definitely Shining inspired, which as I've said, it's one of my favorites. So it's definitely if you're
Hmm.
a fan of The Shining and that kind of vibe and horror, you'll like 1408. It's definitely
Okay.
worth a go. So that's up there. My next one would be, and this one is a bit more critically mixed. Stars Johnny Depp, and it's called Secret Window.
Yep.
Um,
No, yeah, yeah, I've heard it.
Again, another writer who's down on his luck and facing a family tragedy and addiction,
Do
and
you think
he
he might be writing
begins
himself into this, into
just a
his?
little bit. And he begins to be he's in this cabin in the middle of nowhere and like weird things start happening. He begins being hounded by John Turturro, who's like, "You copied my work." He's like
Hmm.
accused of plagiarism, and he like harasses him. And then it again that reality blending line starts to come into play. I think it's really, some people are kind of mixed bag. I think it's really solid and quite underrated. It's a really good Johnny Depp performance. I think it was 2008 or 2006, maybe a bit earlier. It
Yeah.
was sort of
Yeah,
that
yeah.
mid 2000s Johnny Depp. So he was off, he'd done a couple of Pirates and it was like pre kind of Alice in Wonderland and, all the other stuff. Um, and it's a really underrated, it's only 90 minutes. It's a tight little thriller. I think it's really,
Cool.
yeah, really good. My next one is a TV series, which I don't really hear people mention that often. It's a limited series. Stars Jason Bateman. It's called The Outsider. It was on. When I watched it, it was on Sky or Now TV. I don't know if it's still on there. It will be, 'cause it's a HBO thing. A
Mhm.
really solid, dark, gritty crime drama with like a bit like Prisoners, but with more of a horror influence when the reveals start happening of what's going on. I won't say too much more because it's worth going. I think it's in like 6 episodes as well. It's like a limited one and done kind of thing.
Okay, yeah. So,
Definitely worth watching. It's good to see Jason Bateman in like a dramatic role. He's great in Arrested Development and Horrible Boss and stuff, but it's good to see him like in
mhm,
a fully serious dramatic role. So that's really good.
yep.
And my last one, I'll just quickly, which I'll quickly squeeze in, would be I believe it's Hearts in Atlantis or Hearts of Atlantis. Stars
Mhm,
Anthony Hopkins again in that vein of Life of Chuck, Stand by Me, Shawshank. Anthony Hopkins. He's like this. He's this older man who befriends, or I believe it's his relative. It's been a while since I watched it, but
mhm.
it's a really good kind of drama. That again, there's something off going on in the background, but at the forefront, it's about this guy who this I don't know if you know the Tim Burton one, Big Fish. It's kind of that
Yep.
kind of vibe, a bit trippy, a bit more about family angle, the drama side. But it's a really good little gem starring Anthony Hopkins. I'm going to quickly look because the kid actor in it, I think, is
Anton Yelchin?
yeah. So it's a widowed mother. Yeah, so he befriends Anthony Hopkins, who is this
Yep.
neighbor who enters their lives, and it's a very charming, low key, very quieter Stephen King adaptation, but escalates in the sort of final third. But it's if you're a fan of Life of Chuck, Stand by Me, Shawshank, that kind of Stephen King, it's
Give it a
worth
go.
checking out.
Cool. So, well, that brings us then to the end of our Stephen King adaptation podcast. If you haven't watched those films that Jack just mentioned, go and give them a try. If you haven't watched Shawshank Redemption, The Shining, go and change that now.
And
I
Misery.
think and Misery. I think we'd both really recommend seeing The Long Walk.
100%.
If you can't get to the cinema, watch it when it comes out on streaming or digital platforms. So yeah, well, thank you very much for joining me.
No problem. That was great. Yeah, really cool.
Yeah.
Good to be back.
Good fun. You can find Jack's full review of The Long Walk on our website. Go and please like, rate and subscribe to this podcast. We are on all major platforms and we are now available to watch on YouTube. You can find more of our work at filmfocusonline.com. Find us on all socials at filmfocusonline. And join us next time for more great film discussions. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.
Thanks, guys. Bye.